Hello, awesomes again. How we doing today? All right, so it dawned on me that while I've talked about this in announcements, and I know through some emails and stuff like that with you, we talked about the research proposal. So I thought I would just make sure everybody feels good and clear and understanding. So we've got a topic, right? We've got maybe some research questions, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and now we're in the throes, if you will, of thinking about primary versus secondary research. Last week, we started doing preliminary research on our topic, right? Trying to find that sweet spot where the conversation's taking place. And so we're gathering kind of this information right now to help us narrow down our topic so that we can then propose, right, to me in this case, that what your topic is, right? Maybe some good background information, demonstrate that you understand your topic, that you got a good focus. Maybe it's not, I'd like it to be as narrowed as possible, but as narrow to focus as possible. And that you have a clear idea, a plan, in this case, for how you're going to research this topic in primary and secondary research, right? Which we'll talk about in a second. You got a pretty good idea of your audience, who you're writing to, kind of it's like the pre-thought, right? We've done a little bit of preliminary research to find out, okay, is our topic viable, right? And recall from the videos that we watched, I believe it was week 2 and week 3, that research is kind of like writing the article. Research is finding your topic. Research is part of the process. And even as you're going through, and we learned too, recall that the videos also told us that research is this intertwining reciprocal process, right? It's not something as cut and dry, excuse me, as here's what I'm going to research, go find a few sources, write the paper, done, in this linear type of way. We have an idea of a topic, we're going along, we do some research, come back, kind of refine what it is we're talking about. Oh, they're talking about it this way. That's where we finding the conversation with our academic and our scholarly sources really helps with this. Then once we kind of find where that is, even as we continue to move forward a little bit, and our research question might be off just a little bit because scholars are maybe talking about it a little differently, or that question's already been answered. And then sometimes as we're researching too, we find, here's some new ways of thinking about this topic that I'm interested in. So all those things are kind of like up in the air a little bit and kind of at play. So as we research, right, which is why we're spending so many weeks talking about research and performing research, and then that library module, the library instruction module, really helps us think about, okay, how can I use these words, right? These keywords, these research terms, right, or search terms to help me find not only where they're talking about it, but how they're talking about it. Can I find, maybe you're researching a topic and you're like, okay, I'm finding that they're talking about my topic in this way, but I want to try to find my topic when it's being talked about in this other way. The library instruction module will also help you with that. A lot of times with research too, it's trial and error. So don't give up there. All right. So let me get to the crux of this video here real quick. So the assignment prop is really trying to come up with and proposing more specifically. You've hopefully already come up with your topic as I've read a lot of your posts from a couple of weeks ago. Now we want to try to really take that idea of the topic that we have, and now we're going to turn it into something that we can present, right? So oftentimes, perhaps in the future, as I deal with pretty regularly, it's not something as simple as, okay, I'm going to go research this thing, right? And I'm going to present something. So a lot of times there's this pre-process that happens too. That is propose that you're going to do this thing, right? So, and what the purpose of that is to demonstrate that you have an idea, right? And that you've got a plan, and then you can let those, right? Let's say your decision makers or interested parties, stakeholders, those people maybe who are paying you to do this research, before they send you off to maybe to do the actual research, they'll ask you to submit a proposal. Not necessarily every time, but oftentimes we find this happening more and more. So as part of that process, we're going to kind of get a little bit of practice in doing that, right? So we'll find out, so start with what the problem is, who's our audience for this research, right? And kind of in our introduction here. And then we want to also give a background of the problem. You need to demonstrate to the people that are going to be saying, yes, continue on with this research, that you understand, right? This is where we're at right now, right? We're trying to understand what's the background of this topic. What's the background of this problem, right? In other words, where's the conversation taking place? How are scholars talking about it? How is it being discussed? What are the key terms, right? Demonstrate that you know, right? Now that, I'm going to research XYZ topic. I'll be back with you in a couple of weeks, right? Let's demonstrate now that we already have a good idea, right, of what it is. Then, what's our plan, right? We've learned some things about the topic. Maybe in the sample that we're going to talk about in the next video, you'll see that student does a really, really, really good job of harnessing this understanding and presenting it to, right? Excuse me, the powers that be. And really doing the background research. And you can tell that they did the background research really, really well. And they found where people were talking about this topic. Then in the plan, it's reflected in the plan, because the plan is very, very, very straightforward. These 4 things I'm going to do. Here's how and why I'm going to kind of be doing it. Here's where I think I'm going to find my sources. When you do that kind of thing, then the person who's going to approve your research, so to speak, is going to be like, hey, this person really knows what they're talking about, has a clear plan of where they're going. Yeah, let's move forward. All right, so we've got the plan of work. All right, so start with our introduction. We're going to introduce the topic just like we would perhaps most essays, if you will. Talk about the primary audience, provide some background information, demonstrate that we know what we're talking about, that we found where this conversation is taking place, how it's being talked about, and here's how we plan to move forward. I mean, maybe get some interviews, right? Or I'm going to send out a survey, right, with a questionnaire. Maybe here's a few questions I'm thinking about at this moment. For secondary research, I found where they're talking about it, and based on what that information I found so far, here's where I'm going to expand my research, and here's some key terms, or here's how I'm going to move forward based on what I've learned so far. And then the conclusion is just kind of a wrap up. And I always tell students, this is kind of the so what. All right. So you'll see in the sample paper, this person took the so what question to be like, okay, we need some solutions for this specific problem. Here's a couple that I've already kind of discussed right now. I've already found out and researched right now. I'm not going to go into details with them, but here's just kind of a little idea. Here's why we should care, because there's this problem, right? It's the big so what. Why is this important? Why should your audience, why should people care? Why should your audience read it? Why should people give a crap? In essence, okay. All right, so that's kind of it. There's 3 major sections, and 3 to 5 pages have these major sections: introduction, proposed plan work, conclusion. And we're going to get into more APA formatting. I've already posted some things for APA formatting in next week's week. I think it's week 5 page. So feel free to look there, look ahead, and I will get more of that information to you as we get closer to that. But as you start putting it together, there's already some resources there for you. And of course, obviously, the project sample that we're going to look at in the next video has everything in APA format.